Welcome to the Deep Dives, where
All
we
right.
take a stack of information and really try to pull out the most important nuggets for you. Today we're diving headfirst into the, well, let's be honest, often tricky world of workplace conflict. Our guide for this is going to be excerpts from Perfect Phrases for Conflict Resolution. Hundreds of ready-to-use phrases for encouraging a more productive and efficient work environment. Quite a title.
It is, but it's packed with useful stuff.
So our mission today is basically to equip you listening with concrete, ready-to-use phrases and also practical strategies, stuff you can actually use to navigate those uncomfortable conversations, whether it's with a colleague, someone who reports to you, or even your boss. Think of this as your shortcut to hopefully better communication and, well, a smoother work environment.
And what's really interesting about this source material, I think, is how it moves beyond just theory. It's not just abstract ideas about conflict. It really drills down into very practical, kind of relatable scenarios, things you probably see maybe daily. It's all about understanding what's really going on and then, crucially, having the right words ready.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The authors kick things off by highlighting two main types of conflict. First up, what they call direct conflict.
Yeah.
This seems pretty straightforward. Your view, your needs, they just clash directly with someone else's. It's out there.
Right. It's overt. You both kind of know what the disagreement is about, but then there's latent conflict. And this is where it gets really fascinating, I think. It's more subtle. Think of it like a slow leak. It develops over time, maybe because an initial issue wasn't handled well, or maybe someone just lacks the skills to address things directly, or maybe you're dealing with, difficult personalities. This stuff creates real barriers to relationships and ultimately productivity.
And it's often avoided, right? Because it
Yes.
feels
Yeah.
awkward.
Exactly. It feels unpleasant or just hard, maybe too personal. People worry it's difficult to control.
And the book is really clear that avoiding these latent conflicts is a huge trap. We tell ourselves things like, oh, it might just sort itself out.
Or it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, or they'll just never get it anyway. Or even shifting blame, like that's my boss's job, not mine. Or we just can't talk about that here.
Mm-hmm. And those thoughts, the book points out, they often become self-fulfilling prophecies. Avoidance doesn't make it go away. It just lets the problem fester and grow, eroding trust and making the eventual confrontation, if it happens, much harder.
So if avoidance is bad, that brings up a really important question. When should you actually engage? Is every conflict worth fighting?
That's a great point. And the book offers a really practical framework, almost like a little decision matrix. It's based on your interest in the outcome and the other party's interest.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So, scenario one, it's low interest to you, low interest to the other party. The advice,
Well, my guess.
yeah,
Walk away.
pretty much. Forget it. This is not worth debating. Don't waste the energy.
Makes sense. Okay, what if it's low interest to you, but high interest to them?
Then the suggestion is you might just give in. If you don't really care that much, and they do, why make it a big fight? Conserve your energy.
Right. Okay, flip side. High interest to you, low interest to the other party.
Then you should advocate. This is where you stand your ground, make your case strongly, because they're not as invested.
Got it. And the final one, the big one. High interest to you, high interest to the other party. This sounds like where sparks fly.
It can be, but the book's advice here is crucial. Collaborate.
Collaborate. Even when both sides are dug in. How does that work?
Well, it's the only way, they argue, to find a truly productive solution that works for both sides. It forces you past just winning your point. It means getting creative, really digging into the underlying needs, even if it feels contentious because you both care so much. It's about finding a new way forward together.
Okay, so you've decided to engage, maybe even collaborate. Then how you communicate is everything, right? The book outlines three styles: passive, aggressive, assertive.
Exactly. Let's start with passive. This is where you kind of check out. You might hear phrases like,
Whatever you do is okay with me. Or, it doesn't really matter.
or just whatever.
Yeah, not helpful for actually solving anything. It basically signals you're opting out.
And then the opposite end, aggressive, that sounds like trouble.
It usually is. Think phrases starting with you always or
Yeah.
you never.
Oh yeah, those are fighting words. Or like, what is the matter with you?
Right. Total escalation. It attacks the person, not the issue, and shuts down dialogue.
So the goal is that middle ground,
Right.
assertive. The book gives some really powerful examples. Can you walk us through one?
Sure. A great template they offer is something like, I hear you saying that, L. However, what I want or need is L. The reason I need this is L. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And then the crucial closing. Let's see if we can come up with a mutually workable solution. See how structured that is? Yeah, it's like a mini process in a sentence. Acknowledge, state your need, give the reason, check understanding, then invite collaboration.
Exactly. Another good one is, I understand that you are having a problem with tough. I would like to make a request. The next time this happens, could we say? It's specific and forward-looking.
Or even, this doesn't seem to be working for either of us. It is not working for me because, what would work better for me is Av. Would that work for you? Again, direct but collaborative.
These phrases are all about clearly stating your needs while still acknowledging the other person's perspective. That's the core of assertiveness.
So you've got your assertive phrase ready. But the book stresses something else is just as critical, maybe even more so.
Listening. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But the source says lack of listening by either side escalates conflict.
And they use this incredible example of Jim Higgins, a former NYPD officer, 13 years dealing with intense street situations.
Yeah, and his secret weapon wasn't force, it was listening. He said, listen. Mirror what people are saying. Try from the beginning to be understanding and kind. It calms people down.
Wow. He even added, once you start to act like a tough guy, you can't go back and be understanding. It is too late.
It's such a powerful point. Even a little bit of genuine listening can completely change the dynamic.
Hey, Bert.
It de-escalates things almost instantly. People need to feel heard.
Okay, another layer the book adds is power dynamics. This is really important. It says having power can be blinding.
If you're in a position of authority, maybe a manager, or even just perceived as having more influence due to, say, experience, or even things like gender or cultural background, you have to be extra aware of how those differences might be playing out.
Can you give an example from the book?
Sure. It mentions how women, for instance, might feel they have to walk a fine line when disagreeing to avoid being seen as not a team player or too pushy, whereas a man being, blunt and direct might just be interpreted as being passionate about something important.
So if you have power, you need to be more conscious that others might be holding back.
Exactly. You need to actively work to make it safe for them to voice their real opinions or concerns. Otherwise, you might just get compliance, not real input or resolution.
Okay, let's get super practical now. The book offers specific phrases for specific scenarios. Let's start with peer conflicts. Someone's work habits are driving you nuts. Maybe they're too loud.
The suggestion is simple. Direct requests. Like, is there a way you can maybe tone down your voice a little? Or, hey, would you mind using headphones for calls? Gentle, specific.
What about someone who's just abrupt or kind of impolite? That's awkward to address.
It is. The book suggests softening at first. This might be something not many people mention, but since I value our working relationship, I wanted to bring it up.
Okay, that sets a good tone.
Then you state the observation gently. Sometimes you can come across as a bit impatient or impolite. And then a specific example. For instance, in the project meeting last week, you cut off the customer while they were talking, and then explain the impact, which could put people off. The example is key.
Makes sense. How about dealing with ridicule or someone constantly making sarcastic comments at your expense?
You can try to uncover the underlying issue. You often poke fun at me, but I just wanted to check if there's something more behind the jokes.
Or be even more direct.
Yeah, potentially. Has anyone ever mentioned that you can sometimes sound, condescending, again, followed by a specific example? It's direct, but invites reflection.
What if a peer just isn't pulling their weight on a project, not collaborating or responding?
Assert your understanding of the partnership. My understanding is we're equal partners here. That means we both need to do our part and keep each other informed.
And then state your needs clearly.
Yes. What can I do to keep you better informed? And what I need from you is make it specific.
And if that doesn't work,
The book advises having an escalation plan. Look, if we can't figure this out between us, I'll need to talk to our manager because the situation isn't sustainable for the project. It shows you're serious.
okay. Challenging or defending expertise among peers. Tricky territory. How do you defend your own?
Summarize your relevant experience or data calmly, and then suggest a next step. Based on my experience with XYZ, I think this approach is sound. I suggest you take a look at these materials, and maybe we can meet again on Friday to discuss. It invites review, not argument.
And challenging someone else's expertise. Carefully, I imagine.
Very carefully. The book suggests phrases like, I have some doubts about whether this approach will work because it seems we might be missing the needed skills in area X. It has to be factual and focused on the task, not a personal attack. Definitely delicate.
All right, shifting gears to conflict with employees. How do you even start that conversation?
The advice is to start positively, if possible. I really value your contributions to the team. Something like that.
We cushion the blow a bit.
Less cushioning, more setting a constructive tone. Then state the purpose clearly. I've asked to talk today, with the goal of helping you become an even more valuable resource here. Frame it as developmental.
What about clear non-compliance or underperformance? Someone just isn't doing what was agreed.
Be direct and factual. Based on our conversation last week, my expectation was X. What actually happened was Y. Stick to the observable facts.
And if an employee is being confrontational or just generally negative?
Address the specific behavior. I received a complaint from Sarah that you seemed to lash out when she asked about the report.
Can you address their tone even in the moment?
Yes, the book suggests you can say, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but even right now, talking to me, your tone sounds quite sharp. Bringing awareness can be powerful.
What about the employee who just doesn't follow through? Promises things, but they don't happen.
Accountability is key here, as clarifying questions. Can you help me understand why it seems difficult to follow up on these items?
And highlight the impact.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When you don't follow through on X, it jeopardizes the project timeline and impacts the team's ability to. Make the consequences clear.
But also offer support.
Absolutely. End with collaboration. What can I do to support you in meeting these commitments? And then set up clear check-ins. No ambiguity.
Okay, let's flip it again. Conflict with superiors. What if your manager is just never around? You need more guidance.
You can frame it positively. Express appreciation for their trust in you, but state your need clearly. Something like, I really appreciate the autonomy you give me. To help me grow my skills further and take on more, I'd find it really helpful if we could schedule brief, regular check-ins. Focus on your development.
What if you're being left out, not included in key meetings or decisions, maybe passed over for a promotion you felt qualified for?
Voice the observation directly and professionally. I've noticed I'm not typically included in the strategic planning meetings, and I'm keen to contribute more at that level. Or, I wasn't involved in the decision regarding the new software rollout, and I wanted to understand why.
It opens the door without being accusatory.
Exactly. It's about seeking understanding and expressing your desire to be involved.
What if you have a direct disagreement with a different superior, not your direct boss?
The book suggests stating the disagreement clearly. It seems we have a fundamental disagreement on how to approach this. Then you need to strategically consider next steps. Should you involve your own supervisor? Or perhaps suggest a meeting with everyone involved to hash it out. Depends on the situation's gravity.
And the classic steamroller boss, the one who just talks over everyone.
Yes. The advice here is quite assertive. It suggests us interrupting them, even if you have to repeat their name calmly but firmly until they stop.
Really? Just keep saying their name?
Apparently, once you have their attention, state your point concisely and firmly, no yelling, and then try to pivot towards a collaborative problem-solving approach. You have to break the monologue.
Okay, one more category. External conflicts. Customers, suppliers. What if a customer disputes a charge?
First, clarify. Okay, so if I understand correctly, you're saying you believe we overcharged you for X service. Is that right? Make sure you're addressing the right issue.
And then?
Be ready to explain your fees clearly. If their request isn't feasible, be direct, but offer alternatives. We can meet that deadline, but it would involve an expedite fee of Y. Or, unfortunately, delivering by Tuesday isn't possible with current resources. What I can offer is deliver by Thursday, or perhaps option Z.
What about a supplier who's just not meeting the terms of your agreement?
Express disappointment while affirming the relationship's value, if you still value it. We've generally had a good working relationship, which I appreciate. However, in this specific situation with the delayed parts, I feel like we haven't seen sufficient action to resolve our problem.
And you can raise the stakes if needed.
Yes, if they remain unresponsive, you might express concern for the long-term viability of the partnership. Signals it's serious.
If it's a new contact at a long-term supplier causing issues?
Acknowledge the history. We've worked well with your company for years. Then provide specific examples of the difficulties with the new person. It isolates the problem.
Big changes, like a supplier getting acquired.
Be proactive. Reach out. Congratulations on the merger news. Could you share what this might mean for your role and what changes, if any, we might expect as your customer?
And address concerns directly.
Absolutely. We notice your new parent company also supplies our main competitor, XYZ. Can we discuss how information will be managed? Ask for candor? Suggest a meeting to discuss scenarios? Stay ahead of it.
Wow, that covers a lot of ground. Beyond specific scenarios, the book also talks about dealing with certain personality types, like people pleasers.
Ah, yes, the folks who find it really hard to say no, which can seem nice initially, but often leads to overcommitment and things falling through the cracks.
So how do you handle that effectively? The book has steps, right?
It does. First, make it okay for them to tell the truth. Reassure them explicitly that it's fine to disagree, or to say they don't have the bandwidth. Take the pressure off.
Okay, create safety. What's next?
Second, be very specific with your requests and questions. Instead of, can you handle this? Try, what specific part of this task do you see yourself completing by Friday? Get concrete commitments.
Third,
Don't put them under pressure. Give them time to think about a request rather than demanding an immediate yes. Avoid putting them on the spot.
and finally,
Record agreements in writing. A quick email confirming what was agreed helps everyone. And always, always thank them for their input, reinforcing that you value their honest perspective and the relationship. It builds their confidence to be more direct over time.
that is incredibly practical advice. What a deep dive this has been. We've gone from understanding the roots of conflict, like that latent stuff bubbling away, to figuring out when to even engage.
Right, using that interest matrix.
To the power of assertive language versus passive or aggressive traps, and that huge point about listening.
The Jim Higgins example really sticks, doesn't it?
It really does. It feels like this is all about giving you, the listener, the actual phrases and tools to handle friction better.
Absolutely. The authors, Lawrence Polsky and Antoine Gershel from People NRG, they've clearly distilled a lot of real-world experience here. It's a good reminder that conflict isn't inherently bad. Handled well, it's actually an opportunity for clarity, for stronger relationships, for better outcomes.
So the takeaway for you listening, next time you're heading into a potentially difficult conversation at work, maybe pause first. Ask yourself, am I really listening to understand, or am I just waiting to talk? Am I falling into passive or aggressive habits? And maybe, just maybe, think about which perfect phrase from today might help you not just resolve the issue, but actually build a better, more productive connection moving forward. What phrase will you choose?